Yeah, to me it just makes sense. Like, and I don't know what it is about baseball, whether it's because it's so hard, because failure, you have to be good at failing to be a good baseball player, especially at the highest level, as weird as that sounds, or because of the structure right now of roster management, because there's so many long-term contracts, because guys can have longer careers, and because there is no salary cap. But like when you look at football and when you look at basketball, really football is the main one in my mind because basketball's rosters are so small. But when you look at football, like you're having to turn over your roster so many more times than you would have to in baseball, right? Like the Phillies are getting ready to, and again, just using them as the example because I'm most familiar with them, obviously, but like this is year sixth of basically the same iteration of the Phillies. It's truly rare outside of like head coach quarterback to have 6 straight years of the same thing in the NFL of the same team, right? Because you have, contract lengths are so much shorter. You're not signing guys to these super long contracts um, because there's a salary cap. And so you're drafting and replacing so much quicker. Whereas, like, the Phillies draft a lot of high school guys. And I think part of the reason they do that is because they have so many long-term veterans locked up that they wouldn't have room for these guys if they came in at 22 and were ready to be big leaguers. Now, whether you agree with that, which I personally don't, or not, is a story for another day. But like maybe because we will restructure how contracts work and there is a cap, you will need more younger guys to be on rookie contracts like you do in the NFL, or you're going to have no chance of succeeding. That you will only want to draft those college guys that are, the Rhett Louders, the Paul Skeens, the Dylan Cruzes. I mean, you go through the 23 draft right now, and it's like what did I say? Like 7 or 8 of the top 11 picks are have already debuted. Well, you would need that, and that's how other sports work, and that makes it more exciting probably for fans, I think, and it might be healthier, and it's probably better for these guys. Like go to college, get developed there, get to the big leagues faster. To me, that seems like the right way to do it, and I just think it's so hard to know in baseball. Again, I don't know if it's because failure is so prevalent in the sport. I mean, obviously, everyone knows that the ages of 18 to 22 are huge developmental times for a person and maturity and like being able to handle failure when you come from the high school level, where if you're getting drafted in the first round as a high schooler, you're not failing very often. And now you get thrown, hey, man, go to A ball where everybody looks like you and is probably just as good as you, because even though you were the number one overall pick, you're playing against a 21-year-old. So you don't have physical advantages over that kid, and that evens the playing field a ton. I don't know, it's interesting. I'm kind of a fan of this. um I think it would be better for the sport. I don't know if it would be better for each individual. I will recognize that, but I think it would be more fun. Do you think, and I don't want to hijack the conversation and take it in a completely different way, because I just thought of this when you were talking, does it change how colleges are developing though and running their program if you're one of these top flight programs that are going to get a bunch of first round picks that are there for 1 year as freshmen and then hitting the draft? Are you treating it like the transfer portal, or are you treating it like, how much does that change your developmental landscape? And that would be, I mean, I'll start by asking you, but that's probably a question for some of these coaches next time we're around them.
Yeah, I don't really like that's the one thing I that makes me not love it because I'm with you. I've kind of almost talked myself into being like, the guys who debut at 19, the Jackson Holidays of the world, like they're unicorns. They really truly are. The Mike Trouts are unicorns. The Manny Machados, they're unicorns. They're basically like the statistics tell you if you debut at 19, you're more than likely a Hall of Famer at your debut, right? Like if we look at how the outcomes have come out. So like at first my brain tells me like when we were talking about recording this, I was kind of but the more I think about it, the more I'm like, why are we even giving that an option? Like, I don't know if we should even allow guys to leave after their freshman year. Sure, if that's the compromise that they want, but I don't even think that should be an off ramp for. I think either we go with the model we presented in the NHL of like you're drafted and your rights are owned by the org, but you can still go to college and we can pull you out after your freshman year if we feel you're ready. or you stay for 3 years, right? And I know why football stays for 3 years, right? Is because of the fact of the
Somebody will
matter
get hurt.
that it's health, right? It's physical maturation, which guys at
But
18 now
but
are
even
more
real
physically
quick,
mature.
sorry, but even for a lot of guys that play along the line of scrimmage, but and I'm a baseball guy, so if any football people who really know the sport are watching this, you can tell me if I'm wrong. You're telling me last year Jeremiah Smith couldn't have been on an NFL roster.
100%.
You're
I
telling
think,
me
again,
this year Jeremiah Smith couldn't have been on an NFL roster.
when that rule was created, it was before weights were so prevalent in the private sector and in high schools, right? Like these guys now, even in baseball, are bigger, faster, stronger, better than they've ever been. Whereas a lot of that, the time when the rule was created to keep those guys for 3 years and
So
keep them quote
and
unquote safe was
I'm
because
saying that,
they weren't physically ready.
and just to clarify, I'm saying that not to say that football should go to the baseball model, but like it happens in football. There are guys who are
Yes.
ready to play
Mm-hmm.
before they go into the draft, and we just enjoy
Yeah.
them at the college level, and then they go to the draft, and now we enjoy them at the NFL level. We could do the same thing at the major at the baseball, right? Like to
Yeah.
come back to your point where it's like, okay, so Jackson Holiday was ready to be a big leaguer after his freshman year. Well, now we get to enjoy him at whatever, Oklahoma State at the time for 2 more years.
Yeah.
Just
We've
like
seen
Ohio
that.
State fans
We
and
see that
college football
with,
fans get to watch Jeremiah Smith.
yeah. And ultimately, we see that like Nick Kurtz was ready for
Yeah.
professional baseball after his freshman year. Now, the only reason he wasn't drafted was because he was a pitcher coming out of high school and he was undervalued in the draft industry. And he goes and hits 330 as a freshman in the ACC. And it's like, wow, that guy's ready, right? And there's been guys that have done that year in and year out, that they're ready after their freshman year. And we just get to be excited that that player is going to play college baseball for an extended period of time rather than just ripping the rug out from under us and losing that player. Because I think even the one and done scenario leads to a lot of players, because this happens a lot in college baseball. There's a lot of built up anticipation and excitement, and the kid flops, he fails, and then he's kind of caught where he thought he was only going to be here for 1 year, so he's not buying into the developmental process because he thinks he's on to greener pastures. And baseball's hard, and there's so much failure that goes into it. So he hits 210 in the SEC. He's riding the bench. And then that just soured that kid's whole college experience. And he's probably in the portal looking for another home that's going to, promise him greener pastures, instead of believing in the developmental process and being like, hey, it's okay. I might have been the superstar in high school who would have been a number one overall pick 10 years ago, but I'm allowed to face this adversity. And you mentioned it earlier in the podcast, how much failure and adversity that comes with baseball. Like that's going to prepare that guy for when he inevitably hits that mud again in professional baseball, to get through that and work through it and all the things like that. So to answer your original question, if there was a one and done rule, yes. And I think it would be a chase at the top for the top talent, and losing them after 1 year, kind of like what we saw in college basketball. But what did we also see in college basketball? Kentucky not winning a national championship with the number one recruiting
The
classes
teams
and
with
all of the
senior,
things.
this is the one thing I know about college basketball is the teams with veteran backcourts go far in the tournament. It feels like,
Yeah.
that's what it is. It's like, oh, this kid's been here for 3 years.
Yeah. And I think that's what it would be, is it would be a preference. But what we've seen in basketball has shown that leadership, veterans, older players, and again, this is Cover 3 podcast was talking about this, how the 2025 college sports season was Florida had zero draft picks or zero first round draft picks. They won a national championship in basketball. And then you have Indiana, who had the veteran guys and the presence. And obviously they have the number one overall pick at quarterback, which is the most important position. So that matters. But you finally have seen college athletics where it's like the champions we've had aren't the most talented teams. They're the teams that play within the structure, that play in unison, that have that kind of camaraderie that leads to a good culture and obviously success on and off the field, right? So I think that's all to say that, sure, I'm sure there would be programs that would treat it like the transfer portal and just take all the talent they could and stick 9 guys out on the field. And if they lost all 9 as freshmen, they would do it all again, right? No different than John Calipari used to do at Kentucky. I don't think it would work. I think there would be a, pirate ship effect where then we'd swing the pendulum back to the other side and probably start to value some veteran guys from some mid-major programs, some Ivy grad students, whatever it is at that point, where we're able to find those values. But I think if this is the option they choose, I just hope they go, you got to be there for 3 years. Or by age, like let guys leave after their sophomore year, right? Because they turn 20 on a certain date or turn 21 on a certain date. I'm okay with that. Let guys play 2 years, but don't give them a 1 year runoff, because then what's going to happen? We enroll early, we play the spring, and then we're drafted, and we don't even have to touch the field at said school. And we could be drafted after our freshman year, and we're basically a high school draft pick who took the spring to compete at a higher level. Like that doesn't seem like a good option to me.
You want to really throw a wrench in it?
What's that?
There's got to be some sort of antitrust that we can law in here that we're probably breaking that we could. I'm just kidding. I don't want to get into that.
We'll talk about not being a lawyer.
Yeah, it would be. I'm ready for the 9-year college athletes that we're going to get here soon. No, I just think, I think that, because to me, it's like, like you said, as we've continued to talk about it, it's like, why even, like, at least make it 2 years, right? Or because to me, 2 years works, because I just think that there is so much developing that needs more than one. And right now, again, you're talking about unicorns, right? The guys who debut at 19 years old are unicorns. I mean, Bryce Harper was playing college baseball at 16, right? Like, unicorn. And so many of these guys, like, but they're generational talents. Like you said, those are the guys who are basically, you can call them Hall of Famers when they debut. They're not. So if those guys then end up at college for 2 years, are we going to stunt their Hall of Fame track? No, because now you're just, those guys are literally like a football team. You draft them and they're on your team in August. That would, I think, create even more excitement. Mm-hmm. It would create even more excitement for fans and the sport, because now, hey, we've been like, we tanked or whatever, I don't know. You have the first overall pick and you have this guy who could have been a big leaguer 2 years ago. I'm going to take him right now. I get him 1 overall. He's on my team in 2 weeks. You know how much excitement that would bring? And people, I think the trickle down effect is you would have a couple more eyes at the college baseball level, which would be really cool. So to me, it's like, there's not enough examples, and I don't think we're harming enough people that if you make them stay for even 2 years, 3 years at the college level, because like you said, you're replacing the minor leagues now, because we are going to shrink the minor leagues. So instead of them going and playing on essentially what are extremely well manicured high school and low level college fields in a complex in Florida where no one is seeing what happens, you're just hoping to get a report from somebody. Now they're going to be out there, and if they're playing at a big program like we would expect they do, maybe they're in Omaha and they're on ESPN and they're on the SEC network and they're on the ACC network and they're on Flow Sports for all the sickos who have that subscription. So it's like you're going to get much more access to them, which is what people want. And I think it could be really fun for the sport. And I don't think you're damaging anyone's career. And at this point, outside of the signing bonus, which you'll still get just a couple years later, we are getting paid at the college level. And I think in the past, you could say, well, I'm going to go make the money. Well, you can go make the money now just at the college level.